All right, so I just saw Reminders of Him. Well, not just saw, I saw it a couple hours ago, but you know what I mean. And this is the latest Colleen Hoover adaptation. We've gotten three, including this one that I know of. It ends with Us a couple years ago, and Regretting You not too long ago, which I did not like at all. So yeah, again, I've not read a single Colleen Hoover book. I know she is kind of infamous, and her books, I think if they didn't start, they were definitely involved with, the rise of book talk and stuff like that, which I was, bemoaning the existence of during my Wuthering Heights review. So, you could probably guess, not too hyped about this movie, and watched it, and yeah, it's not very good. It's not as bad as Regretting You. I never got like angry while watching it like I did with Regretting You. But it's just not very good. The general plot is this one girl, she falls in love with this guy named Scotty. And they have this romance, and then he dies in a car accident, and the girl is put in jail for manslaughter, and while in jail, she gives birth to her and Scotty's daughter. But she's not allowed to see the daughter. The daughter moves in with Scotty's parents and all this stuff. She's in jail, but she's let out because of good behavior after 5 years or so. And now she really wants to see her daughter, but she can't because her not in laws, blame her for their son's death and all this thing. And then there's Scotty's best friend who, is also raising the daughter in sort of a parental uncle sort of figure, but he's Scotty's best friend, but he's never met this girl. I keep forgetting her name, but he's never met her, and so they meet. He finally figures out who they are, and there's a little bit of a contentious relationship because he still kind of thinks that she's to blame for his best friend's death, and he's not letting her see her daughter and all this stuff. But then, of course, because this is based off of a romance novel, a Colleen Hoover romance novel, they fall in love and everything gets complicated. Now, when the movie is at its best, in my opinion, is when it is focusing on this woman trying to win her in-laws, not in-laws' trust to see her daughter, to be in her daughter's life, and her struggle with that. That's when the movie is most interesting to me. The romance I could care less about. It is not very interesting, except for the fact that she is falling in love with her boyfriend's best friend who has now died, and now she is, it's just weird. This is like every guy's worst nightmare, where they die and their girlfriend falls in love with their best buddy and starts dating their best buddy. Like it's like a joke. It's such a common, like, irrational fear or whatever, rational or irrational, you decide. But it's like, so the fact that this movie doesn't even like barely address that. In fact, she like writes letters to her dead, boyfriend Scotty. Like, guess what, Scotty? I'm falling in love with your best friend. Like, I don't think Scotty, he would be weirded out by that. So, but so the movie is like, it's got this really boring romance, except for the fact that it's kind of weird. But besides that weird factor, it's really boring. And then you have a much more interesting story going on, but we're not focusing on that because the romance is more spicy. It's more entertaining to see a romance than a mother trying to see her daughter, which, we got our priorities all mixed up as a society if this weird, stupid romance is more interesting than a mother's, struggle to see her daughter. I feel like if the movie focused more on that aspect, and you don't have to get rid of the best friend character, but keep him purely platonic, and he's like someone who's against her at first, but because he gets to know her and sees that she's genuinely a good person, and then he starts to help her out, and is kind of her ally, that would have been a better use of his character. And it would have made the movie more palatable, less eye rolly for me, because there's so many cliches. Like, of course she's gonna open the door and he's standing there soaking wet in rain. You know, like how many movies and romance books has this happened in? It's just going through the motions. It's just, ugh. So yeah, not a recommendation for me. I don't really think anybody should see this. If you're a romance fan, I don't think you'll like it just because it is so cliche and boring. And if you don't like this new wave of book talkification of everything and Colleen Hoover and stuff like that, you're definitely not gonna like this. If you are a Colleen Hoover fan, and I'm sure you exist, you might like this movie, so you can go watch it, but I don't think anybody else will enjoy this movie. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on Reminders of Him.